Well, white smoke is coming from the chimney. And I have to say, that was quick. 49ers will be signing Eddy Piñeiro to be their new kicker. Just a few hours after we learned that they were going to cut Jake Moody. Also, good news on Jauan Jennings. We'll get through that in a little bit. But first, Eddy Piñeiro, veteran, 29 years old. He actually has the fourth highest field goal percentage of all time. I'm not kidding. He had a decent year for the Carolina Panthers last season as well. Piñeiro behind Justin Tucker, number one at 89.1%. Harrison Butker is 88.8%. That's the Chiefs kicker. Chris Boswell at 88.1%, and Piñeiro also at 88.1%, but just a tiny, tiny fraction lower than Boswell. So Eddie, his career long is 56 yards. So he doesn't have the strongest leg. This is not somebody who's booted 59, 60 plus yards in his career. But he has been, as I just read to you, very, very accurate. And obviously, the 49ers need somebody with a higher kicking percentage than Jake Moody, who with them was down in the low 70s. So Eddy Piñeiro, luckily enough for the 49ers, was available after spending the last 3 years with Carolina. Generally, the market corrects itself. You ask yourself, how's somebody like Eddy Piñeiro available? Well, because somebody like Jake Moody was employed. A worse kicker was employed. And I think that the 49ers were looking at the market and they saw that Eddy Piñeiro was out there. And they said, well, Jake Moody needs to be perfect. Otherwise, we're going to cut him. You know, they gave Jake Moody one game. It's not like they stuck with Jake Moody for a crazy long period of time. They gave him one game in this 2025 season. I get that it feels like it was an interminable amount of time for fans because it lasted the course of the off season, and the back half of last season was extremely difficult to watch. That was tough on many fronts for the 49ers, but it turns out that the leash for Jake Moody was extremely short, maybe even one kick short. And as I said this morning, the second that they saw Jake Moody miss from under 30, you saw it on Kyle Shanahan's face. It looked like it was over at that moment because he had to change his game plan beyond that point. Everything was completely turned on its head after Jake Moody missed from 27 in Seattle. The 49ers, they were shorthanded at receiver, but Kyle Shanahan said, well, I guess I need to go out there and uh, go for it on 4th and 2 and have Brock Purdy try to force the ball into Luke Farrell. And it worked. Purdy was excellent the other day. All that, 2 thumbs up. 49ers converted their 4th downs, 1 to Farrell, 1 to Christian McCaffrey, and then, of course, the 3rd down to Jake Tonjes, which might have been influenced. The riskiness and the aggressiveness of that play might have been influenced by the lack of faith in Jake Moody and the kicking operation. So it worked, but you just can't have your game plan impacted the way that the 49ers had it impacted by the fact that Jake Moody couldn't make from 27 yards out. So Piñeiro is in. Moody obviously out this morning. 49ers have themselves a new kicker. Again, one more time, this is Eddy Piñeiro, kicked for Florida. Nick Saban actually offered him a scholarship, but he chose to go to Florida instead. Special teams coach over there was able to get Piñeiro to head in that direction. And he's kicked for several NFL teams. He is now 29 years old. Again, not the strongest leg, but I think the 49ers looking much more for accuracy. And Piñeiro has the 4th highest field goal percentage of any kicker in NFL history, trailing guys like Justin Tucker, Harrison Butker, and Chris Boswell. So there's something to be said about that. Piñeiro has dealt with some injury issues over the course of his career. The first one, a groin injury issue, but that was way back in 2019 or 2020, much earlier in his career. So the 49ers worked him out today. They think that he's going to be healthy, and we can ceremonially add Eddy Piñeiro to the 49ers roster and go through some of these roster moves. I mentioned good news on Jauan Jennings. Give me a second. We'll get to it. First, let's add Eddy Piñeiro. This spot had been vacant for a few minutes, maybe a few hours, with Jake Moody being waived, but we can now add Piñeiro. I think we have to add what do you call it? A tilde? I think you call it a tilde right there. Look, Piñeiro, good, right above the end. and he is officially part of this 49ers team. Now, they moved George Kittle to injured reserve earlier today. The good news on Jauan Jennings is as such. The scans came back on his shoulder and nothing serious appeared. This also according to Adam Schefter. Jennings is now going to be day-to-day, and there is a chance to play on Sunday for Jauan Jennings. So what does that mean? Well, it means that Jauan might be in there with Ricky Pearsall. And if he's in there with Ricky Pearsall, then the 49ers can immediately slot Kendrick Bourne as wide receiver number 3, or at least they could have him split some reps at the number 3 wideout spot with Marquez Valdez-Scantling. It bumps Russell Gage down the pecking order for the 49ers. It might bump MVS down the pecking order for the 49ers, and also doesn't put pressure on Jordan Watkins to rush back. He was inactive last week, although he has already returned to practice. I think just in general, it's the 49ers signed Kendrick Bourne because they needed to spruce up the receiver room. But with George Kittle on injured reserve, there's going to be a whole lot less 12 personnel for the 49ers. Less 22 personnel for the 49ers. That's two tight ends kind of stuff for San Francisco. Jake Tonjes, great the other day. That was awesome for the 49ers. Braden Willis probably going to get elevated from the practice squad. But George Kittle is a singular player, a future Hall of Famer. And his impact, I mean, is not just going to be replaced by somebody that you plug in for him. The way that you're going to have to pick up the slack offensively if you're the 49ers is by adding at different positions. So if you're weaker at tight end, but you think you could be a little bit stronger at receiver now that Kendrick Bourne is part of this football team and that Jauan Jennings might play on Sunday, you're going to run more 3 wide stuff if you're San Francisco. And those 3 top wide receivers could be Ricky Pearsall, Jauan Jennings, if available on Sunday, and somebody like Kendrick Bourne, who's going to be wearing the number 84, by the way. We learned today that the number 84 has been reserved for Kendrick Bourne. He wore the number 84 during his first stint with the 49ers. Although the OGs will remember the first number Kendrick wore for San Francisco in the 2017 preseason. It was number 6. Number 6 was Kendrick's original number with San Francisco before he switched to the number 84. So here's the 49ers roster now. They've signed Piñeiro. That takes up spot number 52. They have signed Kendrick Bourne. That also takes up a spot for the 49ers. That's spot number 53, in essence, for San Francisco. And they made a move at receiver. Robbie Chosen has been cut from the practice squad. I'm going to do it right now. Robbie Chosen off of the 49ers practice squad, which leaves a spot open on the practice squad. There's going to be 16 of 17 spots because of the international exception. So Piñeiro is going to be on the active roster, and we're going to find out if or whom the 49ers add to the practice squad to take Robbie Chosen's place. I think that it's possible that they have to add another quarterback because of the Brock Purdy injury, but we won't know more until tomorrow. And if Purdy is indeed out this week, then there's going to be a whole bunch of machinations at the top of that quarterback room. Maybe even Adrian Martinez gets a flex up to the 53-man roster so they can have a backup for the game. Those are all questions that the 49ers are going to have to answer over the course of the coming days. But they have answered the kicker question for now, and that obviously is a big one to take care of. Eddy Piñeiro, 29-year-old kicker, born in Miami, went to the University of Florida, number 4 all time with that field goal percentage of about 88.1%, is now part of the 49ers. You don't always have your pick of the litter in situations like this. I think the fact that Piñeiro was available made the seat for Jake Moody very hot. And they gave Moody basically one game, one missed easy kick. He didn't make it from 27 yards out, and Jake Moody is packing. Eddy Piñeiro is going to replace him. He's been with the Raiders, the Bears, the Colts, and Washington, but those were both off-season things. He never kicked for the Colts or Washington. The Jets in 2021, where he obviously intersected with Brant Boyer, the 49ers' new special teams coordinator, and then the Carolina Panthers from 2022 to 2024. So that's what you're getting from Eddy Piñeiro, the 49ers new kicker. If you want to look at some of the stat breakdowns, I know you guys are probably going to want to get close into this, but over the course of his career, he's 111 out of 126. That's 15 missed field goals. That is that fourth best clip of 88.1%. He has yet to miss from 20 to 29 yards. That's where Jake Moody missed the other day. So under 30 yards, Eddy Piñeiro has been 26 of 26 in his NFL career. From 30 to 39 yards, 42 of 45. From 40 to 49 yards, 32 of 41. And from 50 plus, like it's not the strongest leg ever. We haven't seen anything above 56, but it's been accurate. 11 of 14 from 50 plus. So to get to 88.1%, you've got to make a lot of kicks. You can't have a massive glaring weakness in what you're doing. And also, the accuracy can be good for the 49ers on kickoffs, right? Because Jake Moody the other day with a touchback, he just can't really have those kind of plays anymore. Football gets put out on the 35-yard line on these kickoffs. They've changed on these touchbacks coming off the kickoffs. They've changed that, and it's very punitive at this point. And the 49ers definitely are looking for every edge that they can get to try to improve this special teams unit. That's the overarching thing for me, is how bad special teams has been. And I thought that Sunday was perfectly symbolic of those struggles for the 49ers, because Moody missed 2 kicks, but one of them was the fault of the entire line. It wasn't just Jake Moody. So you could fix the kicker, but you can't fix the protection just by cutting the kicker on that second field goal, right? So the 49ers have to be better blocking. Punt coverage and kick coverage both ranked under number 25 for the 49ers in their season opener. And they lost 11.2 expected points on special teams. I mean, that's just the kind of stuff that is not going to cut it. So you enter Eddy Piñeiro to fix part of this for San Francisco, but the coverage still has to be better on both the punt and the kick games. Whatever Brant Boyer is trying to implement needs to be implemented. I'm not going to look at a 1-week sample for the entire special teams unit and say that it's over for these guys, that there's no way they can get better, because Brant Boyer has proven to be a good coordinator over the years. But I will say that being the worst in the league week 1, even after changing your coordinator, that is an alarm bell for the 49ers. That is a red flag for San Francisco. That is something that they absolutely must improve upon here in week 2 against the New Orleans Saints. They now have an entirely new kicking operation from last season under Brant Boyer. And Deebo Samuel's gone too, so Deebo Samuel's not there to shove Tabor Pepper. Deebo had a nice first game, 7 catches, 77 yards. Nice Deebo-esque rushing touchdown for Washington. We're going to see Deebo on Thursday night. Washington is going to be playing the Green Bay Packers. So that's going to be exciting. I'm really excited to see Deebo play, just be able to sit back, watch. We'll do a post-game show after that game on Thursday. But anyway, he was involved in the 49ers brouhaha on special teams last year in Tampa Bay, one of our Jake Moody inflection points. The holder for the 49ers last year was Mitch Wishnowsky and then Pat O'Donnell after Mitch Wishnowsky got hurt. But the snapper, Tabor Pepper, is the one that was trying to get up into Deebo's face after Deebo yelled something at Jake Moody. I think he yelled at him to lock in. Pepper is gone. John Weeks is now the 49ers long snapper. Wishnowsky and Pat O'Donnell are both gone. And Thomas Morstead is the 49ers new punter and holder. And obviously Jake Moody is now gone. Eddy Piñeiro is the 49ers new kicker. Stuff moves fast in the NFL, and it often moves according to connections. So the fact that Brant Boyer coached Eddy Piñeiro back in the past means that the 49ers are now in a position where Brant Boyer is going to coach Eddy Piñeiro again. Any questions about the 49ers new kicker? Questions about the 49ers special teams unit? I should dig up the 11.2 points lost on special teams. I did the math wrong because I did 11.4 times 17 earlier. Let me amend that. Let me make this correct. If they continue their rate, that's 190.4 points. I know the ring light is reflecting that. 190.4 points for the 49ers lost over the course of this season if they continue the abysmal pace from week one. So all facets of this special teams unit need to be better, not just the kicking game, although that one was primary. That was the big trouble for San Francisco in the first game. 2 missed field goals, including a block for the 49ers. So what do you think they're going to do with that final roster spot? It is a practice squad spot. That is confirmed. They're not going to be running the kicker to the practice squad elevated up thing. I actually never had seen that happen if there's only one kicker on the roster. So everybody's on the 53-man. Eddy Piñeiro is going to be getting at least the veteran league minimum. Who knows? Maybe he gets paid a little bit more than that by the 49ers. And the practice squad spot can be used to bolster the quarterback position if that's what the 49ers feel is needed when they reevaluate Brock Purdy, or they can bolster the offensive line if they need to do that, although they already have a lot of offensive linemen. We know that Ben Barch is dealing with a knee sprain. This show is brought to you by Chubbies. Are you ready for some football? If you're not, Chubbies is ready to help you with their NFL collection. Whether you're tailgating, grilling, or riding the highs and lows of the game from your couch, Chubbies is the officially licensed NFL gear to keep you looking like the ultimate fanatic. And I've got $10 here just for you coming up. With bold designs featuring your favorite NFL teams, Chubbies game day gear isn't just comfortable, it is a statement. Rep your team's logos in wildly comfortable polos, wave-making swim trunks, and gym-ready mesh shorts. Yep, you heard that right. Swim trunks with your favorite NFL team's logo on them. All the comfort and swagger you need to take on every touchdown dance, chest bump, and dramatic fourth quarter meltdown. If you're not a jersey guy, this is an elite alternative. If you are a jersey fanatic, something tells me you'll love their NFL collection, because when you're invested in the game, your outfit should be too. Folks, for a limited time, our friends at Chubbies are giving our listeners $10 with the promo code Lombardi at chubbiesshorts.com/Lombardi. That's $10 off your order with the promo code Lombardi, and that includes the NFL collection. Support our show and tell them we sent you. Express yourself and level up your game day wardrobe with Chubbies. Boom. Do it. $10 off. Think it's a good deal. They've got a lot of 49ers themed stuff with that NFL license. All right, 49ers sign Eddy Piñeiro. He's going to replace Jake Moody. They've got a kicker. They have the whole operation in place. Now things need to go better than they did for San Francisco on the previous Sunday. Somehow, some way, they were still able to overcome those special teams demons to beat the Seattle Seahawks, which I think is significant because you normally don't win when you're making so many bad special teams errors. You know, this is crazy. The 49ers, they gained about 10 points of value on offense, expected points, against Seattle. They gained about 4 points of value on defense. So they were plus 14 in expected points between offense and defense, but they lost those 11 points on special teams. So they blew nearly the entire advantage, massive advantage, 2 touchdown advantage that offense and defense had gotten them through the struggles on special teams. It almost wiped all the progress they made on offense and defense out. So this is urgent. It needs to be fixed. They've lost games, many of them in the past, just solely due to special teams. They need to make sure that doesn't continue happening in the future. We got some good stuff here from SF Data Niners. Also, we got Robert Saleh 2.0 data points, which is extremely exciting. Robert Saleh 2.0, diversifying his coverages, diversifying his blitzes. I mentioned the 65% blitz rate on 3rd and 4th downs. That's an evolution, kind of like this special teams evolution that we're seeing for the 49ers. The Saleh one has already yielded positive results, though. That's the difference. Here's a look at the different coverages that the 49ers employed. They employed man cover 1. That happened when they brought in some of their blitzes 20% of the time. They are still a primary cover 3 team, but as you can see, this has evolved way past the 80 to 90% cover 3 that the 49ers were running back in 2017 to 2018 with Robert Saleh. They are now at 44% cover 3, and then some quarters cover 4, 20% for San Francisco. Deeper cover 6 for the 49ers, 8%. That's what Robert Saleh 2.0 looks like for the 49ers. It's really cool to see all this data popping up. I mean, right here, this is from SF Data 49ers. This is the 49ers special teams performance, but without field goals. You don't want to be on the lower left. The 49ers are on the lower left. This is just kickoff and punt coverage. Not good for San Francisco. They're okay on the punt returns, the kickoffs and punt coverage. Tough sledding for San Francisco. So you've got to be better if you're the 49ers. You've got to get this into the middle of the pack. It shouldn't be that much to ask for. I mean, some teams are way up here. Jacksonville, look at them with their punt EPA per play. Just get to the middle of the pack if you're the 49ers. That is the task in front of them. You cannot have special teams screwing this up. I mean, the margins are narrower than they used to be for San Francisco. These aren't 2023-like margins for the 49ers. But, I mean, maybe the offense and defense will continue to surprise us. So they were plus 14 when it came to just offense and defense the other day. So 2 touchdowns better than the Seahawks. That's a lot in NFL, but it was special teams that almost wiped that entire advantage out. Going back through X to see some of the advanced stats. Well, we have this one. This is always the beauty. The one that shows just how bad the 49ers were in this week 1 game. See them at the very bottom. Negative 11.2 points. We get it. That obviously has to change for San Francisco. But we'll wait for what the next steps for this team are as they take the field with Eddy Piñeiro as their new kicker. All right, let's open this up to a 49ers Q&A. I am very, very excited to answer your questions. I'm sure that many of you are happy about the roster movement that we've seen from San Francisco today. You can ask me about Eddy Piñeiro. We'll interview him for the first time tomorrow. You can ask me about Jake Moody. I'm sure some of you, though, just want to turn the page and move to the next chapter. It is. You're right. It is Brandon Staley versus Kyle Shanahan this week. Old friend Brandon Staley with the 49ers for just that one season. He's in charge of that Saints defense. They lost to the Cardinals in week 1. Eddy Piñeiro field goal percentage beyond 50 yards, actually pretty good. I just read that off a little bit earlier. I'll have to get it open again for us right now, just so I have it accurate for you. We'll go to Eddie on Pro Football Reference. Beyond 50 yards for him in his NFL career, 11 of 14. That's solid. It's not bad at all. Now, he hasn't attempted all too many over 50 yards. He was 1 of 2 last year. He was 5 of 7 the year before. He's going to be 30 years old. It's his next birthday. He's 29 right now. So there probably is a reason why he hasn't tried all too many 50-yarders. I think that he doesn't have the strongest leg, but he has hit 11 of 14, and he has hit from 56. I don't know if this is a guy that you could trot out there from 59, 60. That's something that you were able to do with Jake Moody with the really strong leg. I don't know if that's something you could do with Eddy Piñeiro. Do I know the reason he wasn't playing? Well, there are limited NFL spots. I don't think there always has to be a crazy reason why somebody wasn't playing. There could have been something injury-wise, but the 49ers worked them out and were happy with it. And I'm sure they signed a low-commitment deal to Eddy Piñeiro. But in general, I joked about this earlier, and it's not that much of a joke. The reason Eddy Piñeiro wasn't playing was because Jake Moody was still employed. But Piñeiro's had a better track record than Jake Moody over his career. 49ers cut Moody and they signed Piñeiro, so now he is employed because that spot opened up. But it's not the wildest thing to think that a productive NFL player, especially the kicker position, could be waiting. He's not flawless. I'm telling you about some of the drawbacks of Eddy Piñeiro with the leg strength, but he's not flawless, but he's a plus, and he has plus production over the course of his NFL career, and the 49ers can certainly use that right now to fill their kicker vacancy. William says he won't have to kick from 40 yards or longer if Kyle executes his offense. Well, why would he have to kick from 40 or shorter if Kyle executes his offense? It's more important to execute in the red zone, right? And if Kyle and the 49ers execute in the red zone, then maybe the only kicks that Eddy Piñeiro is taking are some of the longer ones or the extra points. That would be an ideal situation in this entire 49ers progression, is if he's only kicking extra points. That'd be the dream for San Francisco. Do I think left guard Connor Colby will be an upgrade? I don't know if Connor Colby is going to start. We'll have to see how Ben Barch is doing. And then even if Ben Barch isn't available, I'm not so sure that they're going to just plug Colby in at left guard after he's been working primarily at right guard. So I predicted, remember, right after the draft, I predicted that Connor Colby would start at some point in 2025. It looks like I'll probably be right, but we'll reserve judgment until it happens. I just don't know if it's going to happen at a relatively unnatural left guard position for him. I think Barch is definitely better than Colby, but he might be hurt. And Barch has gotten hurt a lot. So that's something that the 49ers obviously do have to solve. Assuming that Mac Jones signs elsewhere next year, what's my confidence level that Curtis Rourke can be a solid QB2? We haven't seen Curtis yet on an NFL field. I can't make that. I can't answer that question just because, geez, 49ers obviously believe in him, but quarterback evaluation is the biggest crapshoot that there is. They hope that Rourke can heal and be ready to go, activated off NFI at some point this year, in which case he'll take a 53-man roster spot. He's got to be out for at least the first 4 weeks of the season. But I'll just say that with somebody like Rourke, he was a gamer. He fought through a torn ACL. He played through a torn ACL last year for the University of Indiana. So let's see how it progresses rehab-wise, and then maybe the 49ers will be able to get him on the field in a backup situation, maybe some mop-up duty, or maybe they're going to have to wait until next year. But they're getting mental reps with him, and they're being able to gauge how he processed the NFL game. So they have some intel, but the rest of the intel is not going to come until he actually starts playing at this level. Oh, also, yeah, you are right. Somebody else is pointing out Mac is on a 2-year contract. So Mac is not going to sign elsewhere next year unless the 49ers trade him somewhere. I thought the fact they're able to get Mac on a 2-year contract was a big win for the 49ers, because what it did mean is that if he shows anything this year, if he starts on Sunday and plays well, the 49ers, there could be some real trade value with Mac Jones this offseason. So that was a coup for San Francisco in that they were able to get him to sign longer than the customary 1-year backup quarterback deal. Why is no one blaming John Lynch for using a third rounder on Moody? I think a lot of people have said, why did they use a third rounder on Moody? John Lynch and the 49ers have made draft mistakes. They've also done great work through the NFL draft. They've done both. Like, the draft is a crapshoot. So fixating only on negative things or fixating only on positive things, that's just bias in either direction, right? You have to look at the totality of what they've done in the draft. And then you say he also traded Buckner. Well, trading Buckner, I don't think that was a terrible process. You got a first rounder for Buckner. You can criticize the pick of Kinlaw as a direct byproduct of that all you want, but for all intents and purposes, if you're going to get a first-round pick and return a high first-round pick in return for a defensive tackle who's going to get paid a lot of money, who probably won't fit into your financial structure, you're going to take it. But as far as the draft goes, again, picks work, picks don't. You've got both. And the 49ers hit rate has generally been pretty damn good. Like, nobody's perfect with the draft. Nobody's close to it with the draft. But the 49ers have seen some solid times. You say this, but they've also gotten Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, Deommodore Lenoir, Jauan Jennings, and Brock Purdy through the NFL draft. So always important to keep the context in mind. Steve says there's just too much value in the third round to justify a kicker. I tend to agree. The 49ers obviously didn't. They at the time they thought, hey, we've got a ready-made roster. We need to get a kicker in there because the future of Robbie Gould with this team is so uncertain. And they thought Moody was the best kicker, and they were trying to win now, and they went with him. But Moody instead is going to go the way of Doug Bryan, picked in the third round of 94. Unfortunately, the stories diverged when the 49ers didn't win the Super Bowl in 2023. Doug Bryan was the rookie kicker on the 49ers Super Bowl team in 94, but then he was cut after missing some last-minute field goals in 95. Went on to have a nice 12-year career. Maybe Moody's going to go on to have a nice career as well. You never know, but he needed the change of scenery. 49ers made that happen. We don't have to argue all too much about it anymore. Has Kyle Juszczyk been practicing at tight end? Technically, no, but the 49ers have an amorphous offense, right, where backs play tight end and receiver and vice versa. So I don't think he really needs to. That's one of the glories of Kyle Shanahan's offense. All right, the 49ers signed Eddy Piñeiro to replace Jake Moody and Jauan Jennings. Good news on him. He might be ready to go after the next couple days for this week. But that's it for now. We'll talk to everybody soon. Hit that subscribe button. We're over 92K real subscribers. We'll see you shortly.